Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to start a new series on the basics of functional programming, and we'll be covering currying and partial application. All right, so in terms of prerequisites, it's kind of like today. The only thing I'm going to assume about you is that you have an understanding of JavaScript, especially ES6. All right, so the obvious question is, well, what's a curried function? Well, a simple definition is that it's a function with multiple parameters that has been split into smaller unary functions. Unary just meaning single parameters. All right, a lot of stuff on the screen, I know. Let's get into it. If you look on the left and right hand side of your screen, we have this get prop function. Now, obviously, they are implemented different. The left hand side, we say that it is uncurried, whereas the right hand side, it's the curried version. So let's look at the left hand side first. All right, follow my cursor here. I'm going to highlight the parameter list. Notice that this getProp function is just one single function call. And we can see that below right here. We call this function, we pass in all the arguments at once. We pass in the ID and as the property, sorry, and we pass in the object with the ID property on it and the value of 2. But notice what this does, right? It means we have to pass in the data at the same time that we pass in the property. Now, can you think of why that may make it a little less flexible for us? I'll give you a second. All right, well, to answer your question, let's go over to the right-hand side and look at the curried version. Okay, if you notice, follow my cursor, we have these, this getProp function has 2 parameters, but it's been split up into 2 separate function calls. So you might be asking, why would we do that? Well, if you look at the getID function that we have right here, this has been constructed by filling in this argument or this parameter here. So when we pass in this ID, that fills in this prop argument, and then a new function is produced that will just sit there and wait for an object, and then when you fill it in, it'll pop the value for that property on that object. And so when we call this down here, this getID function, we're just passing in an object, and this will give us 2. All right, so here's a mental model that I found helpful when I was learning about this. Just think of it as one single function. And what do I mean by that? I mean, follow my cursor, instead of looking at this as a function that takes some input and returns a new function, right, that takes some input that returns something, just think of this whole thing as a function that takes 2 parameters. Now, obviously, you have to remember that it's not just one function, it's a series of functions. But in terms of thinking about how you can reason about it, I like to think of it as one function where I just fill in the arguments one at a time. So the good thing about JavaScript, at least, is that the arrow syntax makes a lot of this a lot less verbose. And it was single-handedly probably the reason why I could understand currying in the first place. Because if you look at the left-hand side, we have this ES5 style syntax. And I don't know about you, man, but when I look at that, I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on. Even now, I know what currying is and partial application is, but when I look at that, it's just a big garbled bunch of mess. But on the right-hand side, it's pretty easy to think of, oh, okay, I have this function that takes an argument, takes another argument, and just does something with it. And that's it. Hopefully you learned something today, and we'll be going over a few things in the videos upcoming, everything from composition to creating applicatives and monoids and up to monads. So hopefully you're excited about that, and I hope you follow along. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Leave me a comment down below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.